Derby County have had their away struggles, but they've also had some struggles with injuries in recent weeks. With David Ozoh picking up an injury versus Cardiff City, it's been a struggle for that midfield since then, although we've seen some players step up, have good performances. There hasn't been a consistent base. David Ozoh has been pictured back in training for Derby County, but can he make the difference when it comes to the away form? Now, David Ozoh has been involved in a couple of away games for Derby County so far this season, but are we now getting to a point where having that base of David Ozoh and Ibu Adams with a number 10 behind Jerry Yates, could that be what Derby County need to secure 3 points on the road? Now, obviously, we're heading into a tricky period of 4 away games in the next 6, and it's going to be very, very difficult for Derby County heading into the next international break. Now, if you have not done so already, we're trying to hit 1,500 subscribers by the end of this year. So if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL content heading your way. Make sure you check out the memberships as well. Let's try and make this a platform that can continue to grow and grow over the course of the next few years. So make sure you check out memberships, hit that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on David Ozoh down in the comments, but shall we get into it? Now, David Ozoh is a player who has had masses of credit over the course of his performances at the start of this season, but obviously, as recently has been injured and hasn't been able to play for Derby County. Now, you look at a player like David Ozoh and you think they have been unbelievable. David Ozoh has been unbelievable. He's had some really, really good performances. I think the one that stands out most is the Bristol City performance at home. I think he was absolutely instrumental in Derby County, scoring 3 goals and picking up 3 points in that one. And obviously then heading into that Cardiff City game, it was like he just went from strength to strength until he went down off the ball. And it was disappointing to see David Ozoh go down. Obviously, he is on loan from Crystal Palace, which is key to mention. He could be recalled in January should Crystal Palace choose to do so. I don't necessarily think that will be within their intentions, if I'm completely honest. I think he will be staying at Derby County. But obviously, with 2.5 months until that January window, you look at a player like David Ozoh to step up now and try and make that difference for Derby County. And I think when you speak about our midfield, I think the big question has always been, we have players who are good at certain aspects, but not someone who can do a bit of everything. And I think what you get with David Ozoh is that he can do a little bit of everything. He's really good off the ball, at intercepting the play, getting his foot in on tackles. I think he's really good on the ball, the way he uses his body to glide past people. And I think I said it after the Bristol City game, that David Ozoh is one of those players who I think performs better when he's got a man on his back. I think you look at the way he performed in that Bristol City game, and every time he got the ball, there was 3 men around him, and he beat them pretty much every single time. And into the Cardiff City game, he didn't get pressure applied as much, and I don't think he looked as good as he did in the Bristol game versus Cardiff, but he was still good in that game. And I think what Derby County need to do with David Ozoh is, obviously you don't want to rush him in too quickly, but you want him back in that side as quickly as possible. You want him at least on the bench. And I put out a poll on Twitter a few days ago talking about David Ozoh, and I put out a TikTok as well talking about it. And I think the thing is, a lot of people think he should be on the bench. A lot of people think he should replace Marcus Harness, but in my opinion, I think the big discussion will be around Ibu Adams when David Ozoh returns. And it's not because I don't think Ibu Adams is good enough, but I certainly believe that David Ozoh is a better player. I think he's better all round, and I think that's going to have a massive effect on Derby County's season, because I think David Ozoh just brings more to the table. I think Ibu Adams over the course of a season is going to be absolutely incredible for Derby, and I don't think he's going to have to be taken out of the side. I think what we're going to have to figure out is how to get Ozoh, Ibu, and then figure out who that other player is. I think Kenzo has been brilliant in that role up until Ozoh's injury. I think Harness has been really good in that number 10 role over the last couple of games. I think he was okay versus Sunderland. I thought he was brilliant versus Queen's Park Rangers. And you look at it and you think, we all know Kenzo needs to be a little bit higher up the pitch, but what do we do with Ibu Adams in that situation? And I think I personally think a big talking point heading into sort of like this November-December period, which we're going to be going into once David Ozoh is sort of back fit and available, because I don't think he'll be available for Millwall this weekend. I think it will be Oxford in midweek where he will be back. And for me, I certainly believe that our midfield three should be David Ozoh as the City midfielder, Kenzo Helbmine as a box-to-box 8, and then Marcus Harness as the 10. And obviously Kenzo drops in and helps out. Now, that would be my ideal midfield. And I do also think that you can turn that into a 3-5-2 as Paul Warne wishes. You keep Harness in that 10 role, you go Jerry Yates and Caden Jackson, or Jerry Yates and James Collins, or Jerry Yates and Dejon Brown, or whatever as your front two. And I think that midfield three of Ozoh, Kenzo and Harness will be absolutely unbelievable. Now, obviously, we've got to let Ozoh get back fit, and I spoke yesterday about Jake Rooney's return from injury. I think that's going to be a massive, massive signing for Derby County. Well, it is like a new signing, and this is what I always think about these players that have been out for such a long time, is no one knows what they're going to do when they come back in. Like Jake Rooney, we know what type of player he is. He's calm, he's composed, he's really good in possession of the football. But what we need to see is him step up from that. From League One to the Championship is a step up. Can Jake Rooney do it? And that's something which we're going to talk about and we spoke about in that video. And obviously with David Ozoh, he's made that drop down from Crystal Palace to Derby County, which it's really a step up because he's gone from being on the bench of Premier League games or being involved in under-21s games to being a starter. And obviously, I think he started all of the games to start this season up until his injury. I think the only one he missed was Barrow, but he came off the bench in that one. And I think you look at David Ozoh, and that's probably why he picked up the injury. So much football, not being managed correctly. And I think that's what we've got to do heading into this next period. I think we've got 6 or 7 games up until the next international break. We're going to have a video out about that probably later on today, where I do think this is the most important run of games for Derby County. Heading into the Christmas period, we can get ourselves in a really good position. I believe right now we're only about 5 points away from that relegation zone. If we pick up 2 or 3 wins in this next run of 6, I think we could put ourselves in a really, really good position. I believe it will put us on around 20 points. And I've said since the start of the season, I think 50 points is the magic number for those sides aiming to stay in the division. And that's something which we're going to have to look at. It's something that we're going to keep across the course of this season, as we have done with my championship previews and reviews that have come after every week so far. So if you have not done so already, make sure you go and check them out. I think we get into a position now as Derby County where we sort of know what the starting 11 is going to be. We know it's going to be Zetterstrom. We know the back four is going to be, when Elder's fit, it's going to be Elder, Nelson, Cashin and Niambi. We know, in my opinion, we know 2 of the midfielders. It's going to Kenzo and Ozoh, when fit, will play. The third one is the question mark. Will it be Harness to be more attacking? Will it be Ibu to be more defensive? Will it be Osborne to have another ratter in there, essentially? We know the front 3 is going to hold Caden Jackson, Mendes Lang and Jerry Yates. Now, I personally think that Corey Blackett-Taylor should play. You probably saw my preview where I discussed changing the team a little bit, where I think Corey Blackett-Taylor should come in for Mendes Lang after his international duty escorts with Guatemala. I think they played Costa Rica. As I'm recording this, I think it was at like 3 o'clock this morning. And it's one of those things for me where I think there's big question marks over certain positions in this team, not because the players aren't good enough, but because we have really good options. You look at Liam Thompson, who's now going to be back available for the first team. Like, he was really good at the start of this season in the cup games and the opportunities he had, and then he picked up that little knock. You look at Ben Osborne when he's fit and available. He was playing in the Premier League last season, and he's been a top-end Championship / bottom-end Premier League player for the last 4 or 5 years, which is no mean feat. It's difficult to stay at that level, and he's shown he's got the capabilities. We just need to see more from him. So obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think Paul Warne should do with David Ozoh? Should he go straight back into the lineup? Should he replace Ibu Adams, Marcus Harness or Kenzo Helbmine? I've put a poll in YouTube community. Go and check that out. It was posted on the 15th of October, so it'll be a couple of scrolls away. Make sure you go and check out that poll. Let me know your thoughts as well, and I'll catch you in my next video.